I couldn't even contemplate where we are now. And to put all of this in perspective, I lived through 9/11. 9/11 was supposed to be the darkest day in New York for a generation. We've done everything we can since 9/11 to make sure 9/11 didn't happen again. We lose 2,753 lives on 9/11. We've lost over 7,000 lives to this crisis. That is so shocking and painful and breathtaking. I don't even have the words for it. 9/11 was so devastating, so tragic. And then in many ways, we lose so many more New Yorkers to this silent killer. There was no explosion, but it was a silent explosion that just ripples through society with the same randomness, the same evil that we saw on 9/11. What do? We move forward and we do the work that we need to do.
Now, see, I disagree with his last part there. Obviously, the loss of life is horrific, and it is an unimaginable number of people that are dying from this, and no one ever expected it, and it's terrible. That's all true. But that it's equally evil, no, I mean, a virus is effectively a natural disaster. Now, there's the problem with China suppressing this, and there is real culpability there. But this is much more like a massive earthquake than it is. To call this evil and to compare it to 9/11 that way, I find a little bit of I think that's misaligned. 9/11 was other human beings trying to kill as many of us as possible. They would have killed a whole lot more if they could have. They wanted to detonate a nuclear, a dirty bomb if they could get one in New York City. They would have used biological weapons if they had them. They were actively trying to eradicate all of us. That's evil. A virus is a tragedy, but I do think it's just a strained comparison, really. And to look at the death toll, yes, I mean, more people have died from this than died in 9/11. That is true. More people die from the flu in a month in this country regularly than die in 9/11. So it's disease. It's not a terrorist attack. It's not the same thing. And I think that we lose some of our context for dealing with this when we start to think of this as though these are all similar. I think we need to be precise in how we line these things up. It's not the same as a terrorist attack, and it has very different impacts on society. And you could argue that it'll have even more profound and maybe even some more damaging impacts on society over the long run. And clearly a much higher body count. But 9/11, it was not. And I get a little bit fed up with this, where 9/11 is referred to as, and this was happening for quite a while afterwards, as though it were a natural disaster. Well, no, 9/11 wasn't a natural disaster. It was human evil. It was an attack on us. And this circumstance is a natural disaster that we are working our way through as a country and as a people. But we do need to keep the proper context for these conversations, these discussions. This is a public health issue. There's not a virus that is planning to blow up a whole bunch of planes over the Atlantic. The financial and human damage from the virus is substantially more than what we saw than we've ever seen from any terrorist attack. But if we're thinking about how we handle this, how we deal with this, there's a very clear separation, I think, between how you rally to defeat evil from other human beings and how you rally together to deal with what is a natural disaster, which is what we're going through right now.